This part of the video is mostly to explain another very important characteristic, I would say, of obsessive men, and this is the stalking. And I mentioned just a while ago that obsessive men tend to stalk their partners. They have trust issues, they're very jealous, they're very possessive. They are very sensitive and vulnerable to rejection, and they react to rejection with anger, aggression, and violence. In the previous part of the video, I mentioned that obsessive men tend to punish their partners the moment that the partners decide to leave the relationship, because of the mentality, because of the attitude that these obsessive men have towards women, that women are just an object, they're just something that they possess, an object and not a human being with a free will. Okay, and what happens as a consequence of the woman trying to leave an abusive relationship with excessive control, which is very characteristic for type of relationship and very typical relationship that exists with obsessive men, or men who tend to control women excessively. So this kind of men start stalking their ex-partners, and this stalking could be virtual, online, and or physical stalking. Very early in the relationship, they try to find out all the important information for the woman, about the woman, like where she lives, where she works, what her routine looks like, very early at the stage of dating, so that they can use that information later on in case she decides to escape and leave the relationship. It's like precautions that obsessive and abusive men take very early. It's a planned, intentional behavior, and they basically go as far as to illegally break into the privacy of the woman, get into her accounts on the social media, WhatsApp, whatever it may be, to monitor her communication and control her, even though there was no like a sign of betrayal, sign of her doing something behind his back, or whatever it may be, but they still do it. It's their modus operandi, and it's very interesting because they control and monitor the woman in any aspect of her life, while they do whatever they want. They cheat, they sleep with other women, they have all the freedom that they want, and they have no problem with that. And even if the woman question any of his behaviors, or where he's going or what he's doing, he would react with a lot of anger and even aggression in some cases. And at the same time, he's keeping her under control 100%. So this is the double standard part. That's very typical for obsessive and abusive men as well. So when it comes to stalking, stalking is really dangerous. In some countries it's a criminal act. In other countries it's still not part of the penalty code. It really depends. But basically, apart from the online stalking, if, for example, the woman blocks his access to her in any possible way, like block his number, block his profiles on social media, the social network, sorry, and so on and so forth. That kind of obsessive and abusive men tend to create new accounts, use various different numbers to continue the stalking, to continue the contact and the emotional and psychological abuse. As I said in my previous video, they don't accept no as a no. It's really like they don't see the woman as such. The woman is to be possessed, the woman is to be controlled, the woman is an object. It's not a human being for that kind of man. And so he may be calling from different numbers. You block one number, he calls from another one. He creates fake profiles without a photo just to continue the contact and keep messaging and texting you and calling you, etc. And at some point, if he got blocked completely everywhere, from everywhere, the physical stalking continues. So if he knows where the woman lives or works or both, he'll be waiting for her at her workplace or close to her home or somewhere on the path between the work or back home. So it's basically the obsession is so toxic and traumatic for the victim, for the woman that decides to leave the relationship, that it could continue actually for months, in some cases for years. I know cases where the stalking was present for years. So these people are sick-minded people. Yes, they could have been traumatized when they were kids, but they haven't taken responsibility to resolve whatever issues, psychological issues they had. They decided to target and hurt and punish other people, more precisely women, for whatever happened to them in their childhood. So the women, their intimate partners, become like scapegoats that got like a punch bags, where all the anger that was repressed from previous relationships, from the mother, from the father, whatever, is just directed towards her. In some cases, very early in the relationship, like in the first few months of the relationship, they already show signs of aggression and violence. As I said also in the previous part of this video, these are the most dangerous men for the woman, the obsessive ones, especially if there's stalking involved, which is very typical, as I said. These men have psychological problems, mental issues, in a lot of times personality disorders, and they get triggered very much, especially when the woman decides to leave. That's the biggest trigger for aggression and violence. Not that during the relationship, when they're together, there is no violence, control, humiliation, abuse, and all that. But if she decides to leave, all this abusive behavior intensifies 10 times more. And it's a pattern. This kind of men have done that before. So for the women who suffered that kind of behavior, abuse and stalking, be reassured that you're not the first one. They definitely have done that before, and they became more and more proficient in how to manipulate women so they can fall in their traps and become victim of their violence and abuse. They've done that before many times. It's a habit. Violence became a habit for them, and it's a way that they can channel all the negative emotions, anger, frustrations, whatever they feel deep inside, or issues with self-confidence, self-worth, whatever weaknesses or vulnerabilities they have. They tend to punish women for all that. That's their way to feel a bit better about themselves, although they're losers and they know that very well. I'm talking about cases like that, and I wish that they were very rare, but that's unfortunately not the case. The statistics are crazy. I was talking about this also in the previous part. It's just there are a lot of sick people out there, and of course that doesn't mean that we should become paranoid or stop dating or whatever, for the women especially, but you have to be very careful. The dangers, unfortunately, for women are a lot more when it comes to dating than for men. Like, women have to think about, and I was watching a video about this and I really love it because it summarized very well what women from really teenage years through adulthood have to take care of and experience when it comes to male violence or gender violence. Women have to worry and be careful where they walk. Is it dark? Is it light? Is it some weird street or not? How they're dressed? Are they dressed too sexy and too provocative? Because that's how it's called, right? It's not the man who's violating women, it's the women being provocative for men. That's the social misconception that victimizes women every single day, especially victims of physical and any other form of violence. They have to take care and consider, as I said, not only where they're walking, how they're dressed, at what time of the day, are they whether they have a company together or they're walking alone, who they're dating. Is that man going to kill them one day? It happened too often that somebody would even imagine it. It happens almost every day. And women have to worry about a lot of things when it comes to men, and dating sometimes becomes the most dangerous things. And the statistics shows that one of the most frequent causes of woman's death is actually being killed by a man. So it's crazy. There's a lot of womanizers and women haters out there. Stalking, as I said, is another common trait of abusive men, and it's a very strong risk factors for women, and it really puts them at a lot of danger, especially if finally that man managed to get in contact with her in the street or wherever, if she pushes back and pushes him back, he would become aggressive and kill her. Because there's a lot of accumulated anger. They regress because they're triggered by the woman that reminds them of their mother, in many cases, and they regress to a child when they're aggressive and violent towards their intimate partner or ex-intimate partner. In the moment of the violent act, normally they regress and do really nasty things.